Germany believes that it was not Russia but Ukraine that blew up the Nord Stream and Nord Stream 2 pipelines. German investigators have identified a group of 7 Ukrainians. The investigation into the explosion is entering an important phase. Serhii K., considered the leader of the 7-person commando, who was detained in Italy a month ago, is awaiting extradition to Germany. One of the suspects, Vsevolod K., is dead. He was killed fighting against the Russians on the front line. He was best known to the Germans because he had taken part in military training in Bavaria. Arrest warrants have been issued for the remaining 6. There is also a Polish angle to the German investigation. Our country was supposed to help one of the saboteurs, Volodymyr Z., who lived in Pruszków near Warsaw. The German prosecutor's office issued a European arrest warrant on June 21st, according to German media reports. It included his address in Pruszków. At dawn on July 6th, Volodymyr Z. fled to Ukraine. According to German investigators, he crossed the border in a car with Ukrainian diplomatic license plates, driven by a military attaché. The Polish prosecutor's office later assured Reuters that the arrest warrant had reached it after July 6th. That's not all. As Rzeczpospolita learned from well-informed Polish sources, Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski repeatedly said in conversations that he would be ready to grant Volodymyr Z asylum in our country and award him a medal. At the same time, the Polish authorities argue that nothing has been proven against Volodymyr Z, although they admit that he is one of the suspects. The role of our services in our country today should be to support the Germans in clarifying this matter. After all, we as Poland have nothing to do with it, and that is no secret. All these attempts, such as what was described in Rzeczpospolita, that Radosław Sikorski would like to award the person who was one of those responsible for the explosion, are unfortunately very harmful to our country. The explosion of the pipes at the bottom of the Baltic Sea in Poland and in the West was mainly attributed to the Russians, with one important exception when Radosław Sikorski, then a member of the European Parliament, thanked the Americans for the explosion. Thank you, USA. However, the entire Western world concluded that Russia itself blew up Nord Stream and Nord Stream 2 in order to then accuse the West and have arguments in the hybrid war against NATO. American expert and former Navy SEAL Chuck Ferrer also believes that the Russians, not the Ukrainians, were behind such a complex operation as blowing up the underwater pipelines. Vladimir Putin has called the allegation that a pro-Ukrainian group sabotaged the Nord Stream pipeline as complete nonsense. This narrows the suspect list considerably to a state actor, like, say, the Russian Navy. This is an important opinion, because Chuck Ferrer has repeatedly demonstrated on TV Republica that he has extensive knowledge of the Russian Navy. The Russians have a device that prevents swimming, namely a hand grenade launcher. It has a range of 250 to maybe 300 meters. This grenade was their last chance, and again, because it was designed against floating objects, this grenade explodes underwater. He himself spent years in the U.S. Navy SEALs, professionally involved in blowing up underwater pipelines. During the Cold War, his job was simply to blow up this type of installation. He blew up a lot of them and described it many times. I spoke to him about it several times, and he explained to me in every possible way that it cannot be done from a yacht, because the operation is simply too complicated. And it was from the deck of a yacht, according to the Germans, that the Ukrainians carried out the sabotage, while the Polish authorities allegedly ignored the disappearance of recordings from cameras at the port of Kołobrzeg, where the commando has docked the rented vessel Andromeda. I have no doubt that this case related to the investigation into the Nord Stream explosion is intended to involve us, Poland, in this whole story, which is very harmful for us, for our country, and it will be used by the Germans to weaken our position, and thus strengthen their position. Shifting the blame onto Ukraine and Poland is absolutely in their best interest. What's more, they would be very keen to rebuild this gas pipeline, because they were supposed to be the hub for Russian gas for the whole of Europe. The war and what happened afterwards put an end to that. Many German politicians do not even hide such plans. Here is a post from last year by one of them. Gerhard Schröder turns 80 today. As chancellor, he was an advocate of a strategic partnership with Russia and paved the way for Nord Stream, the foundation of our industry. His life's work will one day be completed. I warmly congratulate the former chancellor on his birthday.
Niemcy zawsze mają wspólny interes z Rosją i
Germany always has common interests with Russia, and it always seems that they are against our homeland. We must defend ourselves here by all possible means, so as not to be maneuvered into such stupidity, such idiocy. But let's remember one thing. Apart from the fact that we have the Germans and the Soviets, we also have Radosław Sikorski, who has always written strange things and said strange things, such as his post about Thank You USA in relation to the Nord Stream explosion. If we have such a trio, then they are really sounding the alarm, especially since the German investigation is gaining momentum. One of the 7 Ukrainians identified by the Germans has been arrested in Italy. He is awaiting extradition and faces 15 years in prison. However, it is possible that the Germans will offer him a reduced sentence in exchange for testimony, perhaps including testimony incriminating Poland.